What's up, guys? Welcome back to the That's So Dev podcast. My name is Dev. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I appreciate you. We have some tea to cover, okay? Now, before we get into the tea, make sure you go ahead and follow me at That's So Dev on Twitter, Instagram, and literally everywhere else, including YouTube. And if you're streaming over there, make sure you like and subscribe, child. Okay? Now, if you can't tell by the title, we got some tea to get into. And, I'm kind of sort of getting back into my bag in my pop culture podcasts. And this just felt like a grand opportunity for me to just discuss this current situation, because I've seen several sides of it and I don't like how it has gone down. So essentially, let me just say this. The BET Awards tend to be messy on the regular. And I do mean on the regular. And you know I mean on the regular. So when you hear that the BET Awards was messy, that shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. Nobody. Not a single soul. Right? Not even Beyonce and the man above, child. We all motherfucking know. So it was interesting to me to hear about the situation in regards to Taraji and Keith Lee. Now, I was like, let me just make this podcast now because I need this wrapped up by about 5 p.m. Something, bitch, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm watching all the moving parts behind the scenes. Now, before this even came about, I've been seeing BET move weird with their production. Right? You know, things happen. You have artists cancel. You know what I mean? There are several things that happen and you have to adjust with your show. I totally get that. But this is just BET's brand. And it started out with, you know, people being invited to the show. Now, I'm not really sure why production waited until the last minute to get people in, probably because they didn't have enough people to really look full themselves. That's just the God honest truth. They wanted to bring people in to make it look full. And obviously, all award shows want to do that. But other award shows, they don't wait till last minute to do things. So it's clear that production waited to the very last minute to tell, you know, other companies how many people or whatever amount of people they need to gather up so that way they can get them inside the venue for their show. That was the first red flag to me, because I'm like, okay, like... we move in last minute. You know, you can say CPT all you want to, but honestly, when it comes to these award shows, I feel like that's it's a general personal thing that doesn't really apply in a professional setting, right? That's not gonna fly, especially if you are a big corporation like BET. But again, we all know BET, and none of this is surprising, right? So me seeing how production is moving prior to the show even beginning, I'm like, okay, whatever, right? So here we go. Here comes the show, and the show is coming up, and they give a dress code for the show. The dress code doesn't actually come to the last minute either, at least for the people who are coming in. And the dress code was interesting to me because it said nightclub tees. And yeah, it said the dress code was nightclub attire. Bitch, I could have went up in there like I was going to motherfucking Dre's nightclub. I said, huh? What do you mean it's not formal and upscale? Hello? It should not be giving You are giving people the free range to come in ghetto. Oh, hell no. You need to come in presentable. Literally. And that was the main decision. It was going to be me, and I was going with another person. The other person that was going with me, that was the deciding factor. She was like, nightclub attire? Oh no, I'm not going. Right? And, you know, at some point, because I was still going, obviously, because I wanted to go see Normani. right? I just found Normani was performing, and I was like, oh, you know what I mean? I was like, yay, let me get my ass up and go. And it turns out that, Normani ended up getting hurt, and I ended up not going to the BET Awards. So it just kind of worked out for me, thank God, because from what I heard, it was a mess all around. Not even just the Taraji and Keith Lee situation. But, getting to that situation, I'm realizing that things are set up in a very weird way for BET, right? Taraji has to do a pre-show, right? They have a pre-show before they have the show. So they run through the entire show before they have the actual show, right? There's nothing that needs to be missed. So when it came to Taraji's hosting, it did lack a bit this year. You know what I mean? A little bit of it felt off. Some parts felt cringy. I don't know why that is. My assumption, production. Because what I've seen on my end even, I've seen the lacking on the production. So, I'm keeping in mind everything that Taraji has to do as a host, right? And when you are hosting, it is your job to know all things the show. So if as a host, you have to speak to somebody, you have to present to somebody, you need to know their names, you need to know their face, you need to be familiar with them. Now, when it came to her doing the hosting, as I said, it was a little cringy, and it was great parts, right? She has good energy. She knows what she's doing. But when it comes to this specific segment, when she's handing out people's flowers, which I'm sure that was a great idea to start, but it didn't execute the way it needed it to. And I still think that falls back on the production, right? You did a whole show prior to the live show. There's no reason why Taraji, even if Keith Lee was in the wrong seat, didn't know his face. There's no reason why she didn't know his face. She's asking, are you Keith Lee? You Keith Lee? No, you should know his face. Even if that's not Keith Lee, you should know his face. We all know his face. You are a host. It is your job to know his face, no matter where he's sitting, because you, as a host, know that you have to adjust, right? So she does that. We'll get to the followings of all of that. Next up, she goes to Miss Halle Bailey, because she pronounces Halle's name first and then calls her Haley. They were in a movie together, by the way. They were in a movie together. And, you said her name right, first of all, and then you mispronounced it after. You corrected yourself to be incorrect. So, you didn't know Keith Lee's face. You're not sure of Halle's name. And you're presenting things to these people. That's messy. Yes, I do believe that falls back on production. But as a host, why don't you know their names and their faces? I know you have a lot to do. I trust me, I know you got a lot to do, girl. But that is the bare minimum, knowing their face and their name. So here we are, Keith Lee feels some type of way because she didn't know who he was, but she's now trying to give him a moment. And when he finally gets the rose, he's getting the rose after they didn't know who he was. So this whole moment that's supposed to be his, it's really not, because they don't really know him. So what's the point of, you don't really know him, right? You see the problem with that? You're trying to give this man a moment and you don't know him. So when he puts the rose on the floor, he's like, I see what y'all trying to do, but that's not my moment. And it's not his moment. That's not an ego thing. That's a respect thing. You didn't know my face, but you're trying to present me something. That's crazy to me. So he goes on, he clears up the situation, and he's just like, you know what? This is a production thing. You know what I mean? He put no blame on Taraji. He made sure that people knew what this was about, how he felt, and blah, 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 blah. It had nothing to do with his ego, truthfully. I mean, at the end of the day, we all do have an ego, blah, 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 but I don't think that the root problem of it was his ego. And what obviously makes me say his ego, as you know, would be Taraji's response. Now, Taraji's response was very interesting to me. And it's interesting to me for several reasons. Because she actually put quite a bit of blame on Kevin. I say Kevin. Girl, she put a lot of blame on Keith. I could not believe that, truthfully. She was like, his ego hurt. He'll be okay. He was in the wrong seat. Hello. Hi, host of the show. Did they not have a picture of Keith Lee sitting in the seat when you were going through rehearsals? Did they not show you a picture of Keith Lee? You've never seen Keith Lee before? He literally looks the same. He has not changed. And you know what I mean? Like, everything looks the same. So to say he wasn't in his seat is crazy because he already said that production moved him out of his assigned seat. She wanted to say, well, they have assigned seats. Everybody has assigned seats. Production moved him out of the assigned seat. So production screwed you and him. But we want to know, why didn't you know his face to give it to him anyway right when he was next to you? You should have been able to find him. But you want to place blame on him because he wasn't in his assigned seat. Even though he did say that production moved him. You are responding to that same and that very video where he says production moved him. So why is it that there's no smoke for BET in the production? Again, I've seen stuff from my end. He's seen stuff from his end. Everybody else saw stuff, to be honest, because everybody saw how messy the production was, bitch. I respect. Come on. Taraji's a legend. She is. She be fighting a good fight. She deserves. Come on now. There is no disrespect to be had. Period. But you do have to give respect to get it. And he definitely gave the respect. He was definitely respectful, and he handled that in the best way possible while letting people know how he felt and why he dropped the roles. So people didn't create their own narratives. But even though he addressed it, ironically, the person that created the narrative is Taraji. So now there's a battle going on back and forth between Taraji and Keith Lee right after the Black Entertainment Music fucking Awards. Are you joking? After you was just giving people their flowers? A segment about you trying to give him his flowers. Now his ego is hurt. He was supposed to be in the assigned seat. Production told you none of this stuff. It's clear production didn't even tell you what happened after the fact. They still let you just look a certain way. But the smoke is still for Keith Lee instead of BET, the production. Isn't it amazing how BET is supposed to uplift and honor us, but yet there's always BET in the middle of black people fighting? Look at Young Money. Young Money no longer goes to the BET Awards. Look on several occasions where BET is causing up stuff between the culture. What is BET doing for us right now? What? Because as far as I'm concerned, sure, we definitely congrats to all the women that night. Y'all ate it the fuck up. Come on now. I love seeing the black motherfucking entertainment. We have entertainers out there. Yes, I love seeing them get the platform, blah, 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 blah. But to me, it looks like we're putting on this show for our benefit, not for our culture's benefit. Our culture don't even own BET. So, hello. And again, this isn't news to us, right? None of this shit is shocking. It shouldn't even be shocking to Taraji. But her first thought was to attack that black man instead of checking production. What a grand opportunity for somebody to check BET in the production. And instead, you attack Keith Lee. A black man spreading positivity and love. Nothing but it. Not a single ounce of, hello. We have to start being serious. That's absolutely ridiculous. And Taraji owes him an apology. As loud as that disrespect was. It doesn't need to be behind the scenes. She needs to apologize to him. She said, no love lost. What do you mean, no love lost? He didn't do anything to you. Hello? You could have had his back. But unfortunately, your ego is the one that's now in play here. Because you are on a defense in a situation that, honestly, is not that you caused, but you were a part of it. Because as much production moved the seat, but even if production didn't move the seat, again, why didn't you know his face? You're the host of the show, presenting something to him. Come on! Girl, like, I'm cackling because, nobody's perfect. And this isn't a moment where, oh my God, Taraji needs to be canceled, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not the case. But she does need to be checked for it. She needs to be checked. She needs to apologize. BET and the production needs to be checked. Because right now, there's now a battle between two black people holding positivity in positive spaces. Two opposite ends of it, too. Two successful black people. Now there's a back and forth on social media with the black community discussing, arguing with each other in chaos. BET production caused chaos. Who's gonna check them? Girl, get the fuck out of here. I can't. It's ridiculous and it is tired. And until people start checking, yes, BET awards, but also like award shows just in general, we're honestly going to keep having this problem over and over and over again. So, well, when are we going to start? Ciao. I'm hoping that it starts immediately. I'm ready to wrap this motherfucker up. I've gotten my point across. And you know exactly what I'm saying. And I also know you know what I'm saying is fucking truth. It is. This isn't a cancellation time for Taraji, but this is a checking time. Because people who tend to be older than us, especially in the black community, they tend to have those responses when they are wrong. I don't know that she knew she was wrong when she was typing that up and responding to him. But it's almost this thing where you are older, you are wiser, and you're just right. And that's not the case. You are wrong. I hope she sees that. I hope she addresses it and goes from there. But I've often have noticed that whenever Taraji's in a scruffle, it tends to be handled behind the scenes. Quietly. So, it is what it is. Everybody is human. Everybody makes mistakes. I totally get it, but we all still do have to be accountable for what we do, because that's going to send a lot of heat Keith's way, and it already has. People harassing him. And I'm sure you can say, people are probably harassing Taraji too, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's saying that nobody isn't. And nobody should be harassing anybody. But this is stemming, again, from what? These black people are now having a stressful time because, what? The network that's supposed to be representing our culture has now caused up a motherfucking stir. Anyway, y'all, I'm done saying what I gotta say because I'm gonna keep repeating myself. And look, let me tell you something. BET is out the motherfucking window. Let me tell you something now. I saw Fox Soul, and if you don't know what that is, look up Fox Soul. It's on the motherfucking way. And it's black owned. Fox Soul. Black owned. BET is heading out the window. Unless we can get that back into our grasps and back into the community where that network and where that brand belongs, it's a lost cause until we do that. I'm hoping we do that. We need that. We deserve that. We need our own space as a community and not owned by somebody who's not black. Period. Well, and also another thing. Let me leave you with this, because not every black space is a black space. Well, not every black space is a black space. Just because we see our people doesn't mean it's for us. That is a sad reality. But chew on that. I appreciate you guys for listening to this podcast, because y'all know the tea is piping. Anywho, ho. Make sure you go ahead and like me on all social media platforms at that Sowdev, on Twitter, Instagram, and literally everywhere else, including YouTube. Give me a like and subscribe if you're listening over there right now. And you're iconic. I love you guys. Spread love and positivity, especially to our black community. We just need more of it. We don't need none of this. They not tired. Anyway, girl, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for listening to the That Sowdev podcast, where you stay true and you stay you, boo. And let me tell you something. I'm going to see y'all on the next podcast. And we're going to have some more to get into. Alright? Take care of yourself. Drink some good water. Eat some good food. Stay cool. And again, I will see you guys on the next podcast. Peace.